This is Michael Orrell of MobileBurn.com, and today I have with me the General Mobile DS-TL1. It's the manufacturer's first Android-powered handset. It's also the first Android-powered device on the market with a resistive touchscreen display. It has a wide QVGA display, 3-inch in diagonal. Take a look at the design. You can see there's a normal D-pad here, and the center button on the D-pad acts as the menu button. Home button serves double duty as the second SIM call button, and that's because it actually uses two SIMs on this device. So you can be making data connections through one and phone calls from another, or sending text messages from one or the other. It's all very well integrated into the phone, as I'll show you later. The power button over here, back button. On the left-hand edge, we have the volume control. In the back, it's the 5-megapixel autofocus camera. Seems to take pretty nice photos from what I've seen so far. On the right-hand edge, we have the mini USB port for power and headsets, and there's also a camera shutter button here. Microphone and lanyard connecting point on the bottom, and nothing to see up top. So there's a nice kind of a graphite metallic look to the front bezel, and then chrome strip around the entire edge of the device and along the back. Feels pretty solid. It's a little thicker than you might want, considering there's no slide-out keyboard or anything like that. But it's really a very pocketable device. It's quite narrow, easily fits in a pocket. The complaints you might have about the design would be the lack of hardware buttons for the call buttons and back and power, and the lack of the dedicated menu button. But actually in use, the center select button on the D-pad works well as a menu button. I always find that I like trackballs and D-pads on Android devices, but I rarely ever use them. So in this case, it really doesn't work out to be a problem, because you can still use the D-pad to maneuver, and then the center select button there as a menu button is quite convenient. I'm going to bring up the device, going to press the D-pad twice, unlocks it, and you can see the normal Android home screen. You'll also notice that the icons around here are a bit crowded. You see some overlap, and that's because it's not a half VGA display. The lower resolution definitely is a bit of an issue, but there are still, of course, multiple home screens. But you will run into problems with certain large widgets not fitting on the display, such as the custom widgets that come with Touchdown for the Exchange client I'm using right now. They do not fit on even a fully empty home screen panel like this. You can see the main menu looks just like we've seen on other devices, a little bit customized there with General Mobile's logo. I've got a bunch of third-party applications installed. Those were brought in through the SlideMe software catalog. There's no Android market on this device. General Mobile told me that after discussing it with Google, they decided not to put Android market on here because too many of the applications wouldn't work with the lower resolution of the display. They did say that version 1.6 of the OS of Google's Android OS will support multiple screen resolutions, and that will hopefully deal with that in the future, and we will see the Android market. Let's go back to the main screen for a second. You can see, like other Android devices, you can move things around, but there are a limited number of positions. There's no center position. Everything snaps in. It's a little awkward. Things don't necessarily want to go where you want them to go, because there just aren't enough points on the display where they can lock in. The grid is fairly coarse. It's only 4 columns. If you take a look at the top of the display where the status line is, you can see the dual indicators for the two SIMs. Right now I have an AT&T and a T-Mobile SIM, and unfortunately this device does not appear to support the 850 megahertz band. There are supposed to be in the future 2 different versions of the device, each tri-band GSM Edge. Unfortunately I have the one for Europe right now. But you can see that there are 2 SIMs, 2 different signal strength indicators. If I pull up the dialer application here, you can see that I can dial a number. And then depending on which button I hit, SIM 2 or SIM 1, I can call out with that particular SIM. So right now I'm dialing out with the AT&T SIM. I can hang up here. I can dial again, except this time I'll use SIM 1. And you can see now I'm dialing out on the T-Mobile network. It's really quite handy. I've got John Doe's contact pull up here so I can show you how the text messaging works. We're going to send off a message to John Doe here. It's two different on-screen keyboards depending on whether you're in portrait or landscape mode. You can configure it to vibrate and beep if you want when you press each key. But in spite of the 624 megahertz Marvel processor in here, which should be pretty speedy, it seems like the keyboard is a little bit slow. You'll notice that the letters don't pop up very quickly when I'm typing on the keyboard. If we switch over to portrait mode here, you can see the larger keyboard. And here we are with the larger keyboard. And you can see now we have the option to send with SIM 1 or send with SIM 2. I'll just press that button there and it sends it out from the appropriate SIM card. And it's out. I'm going to jump into settings here. Go into wireless networks and down for mobile networks, and you can see that there are a lot of settings that have been broken up by SIM, so you can define separate APNs for SIM 1 and SIM 2. There's more than that though. If we go into sounds and display, you can change ringtones based on which SIM you're using. So a call coming in on your business line would have one type of ring, and one coming in over your personal line would have a different ring. Same thing goes for messaging.